Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Here a while back I had a subscriber reach out and leave a comment, and she asked, hey, at some point do you think you could maybe do a walkthrough of the house and point out each of the modifications that you did? And I don't think she necessarily meant like room by room, but I thought that was a good idea, and I think that's what I'm going to do today. So when you buy these houses here in Thailand, especially houses that are here in like a Muban or a village, they aren't necessarily set up for or built with storage in mind. So very much just the shell of a house is what you buy for a set price, and little to no customization options in those houses. And so when we bought this house, it was very much just a shell, and it had been sitting vacant. It was the last house they built here in this subdivision or Muban village. And we came in and just kind of started sizing it up based on some other houses that we had visited, and done some comparison work, right? And then we started kind of thinking about, well, with this kind of space, well, one, is our money right? Can we buy the house? And it was, so we had money saved up for a down payment and everything. But two, space-wise, moving into this house, what would we be able to achieve with the amount of space available, and how much customization could we do? And then we looked at a few companies that could come in and do modifications like that. So one of the things, or I guess a couple of things to think about as we stroll through the house this morning or evening, wherever you're at, is how much did we pay in each of these rooms? How much would you want to modify each of those rooms? And are there cheaper options available? And I can tell you that there are damn sure cheaper options available, but they might not look as good as a full finished job like we got, like with an actual, how do I say it, like a professional building company doing it. And so the company that we ended up going with was Best Home Khao Yai, or Best Home Design and Construction. They are based down in Khao Yai, just south of us, southwest of us a bit, I guess. But they typically do builds from the ground up, and I'll put a link to their page down in the description. But they typically do from the ground up, full-on houses. But all we were doing was, hey, we bought this shell of a house and we want to go through and customize it. We didn't do things in every single room, but the bedrooms got customized. The kitchen was a big one, and here in the office was a fair bit of work, because I wanted a nice, professional place where I could feel like, it's comfortable, it's cozy. I can video in here and it doesn't look too bad. It's not too bare bones, and there's room for, some workout equipment and whatnot. So without further ado, let's start this walkthrough. It's what's today? You'll forget what day it is over here when you retire in Thailand. So today's Tuesday. I don't know if tacos are on the menu, but maybe they should be. But it's Tuesday, and it's about 10 a.m. Let's kick it. So wifey was able to find our little portfolio that had kind of a room by room breakdown, and then based on that I went through and scribbled down my own notes and tried to get like a ballpark figure for each of the rooms. And then as we go through, I'll kind of point out what modifications we did in each of these rooms here. And all in all, the total cost for the build for just the interiors was 1.5 million baht. Adding up everything I found came out to like 1.4 something, but I was probably missing something somewhere in there. Anyway, it's ballpark. That gets you in with within a couple $1,000 US dollars anyway. But 1.4 million ish is what I came up with. We paid 1.5. So there's something that I missed. I'm not sure what it was, but yeah. So let's break this out room by room, and I think wifey's still lounging a bit upstairs, so we'll save the bedroom up there for last. All right, so right now we're in the living room, and when I say living room, I'm thinking about everything from this like accent wall here to all of this going on over here. And this was just a regular squared concrete wall, like you'll see, you know, typical of Thai building, and they came through and wrapped this like shell around it. And then we've got some really cool accent lights on right here that aren't turned on right now because when you get over here, it's like the wrong look angle and they'll blind you. But they do look kind of good hitting from that angle. So that kind of goes up and wraps around all this right here, comes around. And this is coming off a good couple of inches because this is hiding a bunch of wiring. This facade, excuse me, this facade is. So our fiber internet and then all of our electrics that are running to the outlets. Behind the TV, and then all of my networking jazz down here. If you saw the before videos, you might remember there was a window on this wall and then a window on that wall. And they just looked right into the car park area, which is right on the other side of this wall. But we were like, one, that kind of wastes a lot of the space that we get for this living room, living room kind of presentation area, if you will, because there's nowhere else to put a TV, right? So with that being kind of our presentation wall there, we were like, what can we do with this space? So they concreted up the windows and took them out. We can look at it from the outside too, but it's really clean and all painted over and everything. You can't tell that windows were there at all. Whereas on some of those, some people do modifications and you can definitely tell it on the backside. All of this shelving got put in. So these are metal bars that come down, biggity bam. And then we've got this long shelf down here that kind of spans the length of the wall. And so that's good for the sound bar, router, little ONU there, and a subwoofer. All of this comes with storage too. So all of these have drawers that pull out. And hopefully none of these are becoming the junk drawer in the house. But very professionally done. They came through and, I mean, the detail was amazing. They were just hand painting all the interiors of those drawers. So like I was saying earlier, are there cheaper options? Could you go to Home Pro and just buy some kind of a shelf to throw there and just throw your TV on top of it? Yes, you can, and that would be a lot cheaper. But for here in the living room, what we're looking at is 130,000 Thai baht, roughly 4,000 USD. So that's window removal, concrete work, adding the facade, and then all the shelving, wiring coming through. Let's see, some additional electrics. Electrics I think we'll talk about later too, but they added the accent wall here, or these lights rather. And what's on the back side here? Nuttix decorated this up a bit too, so yeah. All right, moving right along. We got the bar here. Now the bar we weren't sure of. They gave us like a concept kind of design, and we were like, man, I don't want it to be a traffic jam, flowing from the living room through the dining area to the kitchen. Is that going to jam up the space too bad? And it doesn't. I'm pleasantly surprised because this table is just about as big as the table we had in the other house. And it was a big table and it really filled up too much space over there. But over here we got a lot more flow. So they got the bar put in, some more electrics. I think they've added an outlet down there, if there wasn't one already, but they've had to come back through and do the electrics for the overhang of the bar, and all that lights up there. It's not on right now. Let's see. Do I have the bar itself? Yeah, so for the bar, just the bar itself and the overhang up there, 50,000 Thai baht, or roughly 1,500 US dollars. And I don't think that's too bad of a price, right? So we had this rustic antique kind of bar in our house when we lived in Okinawa, and just the bar by itself was like $500-600. So paying a little over double that for something that looks pretty good, and it's like a permanent fixture too. So pretty sweet. Let's see, what else did we have going on in here? The kitchen is like the heart of the house, and this is my wife's main jam right here. So just the kitchen itself, hold on, let me get you a better angle. Yeah, I was kind of forgetting where we were in the build, but trying to take a gander at my notes too. But if you remember the before videos, when we first came over here to the house, we had a door right there that kind of goes into it's not really a backyard, but it goes into a little area behind the house, kind of between the neighbors' houses. And then we had a humongous window right here that was it was a waste of space, one, and it was going to minimize the amount of cabinet space that we had. But something else was the door. And with that door taken out, we knew that we could maximize the countertop space coming across here just like this. And so door removal, window removal, concrete work, got all those finished up. And when we look around back, you can't tell that there used to be a door there. And so redoing some electrics. Obviously, we've got a range installed now that actually vents to the outside of the house, right? So it takes all of that cooking smell and pushes it out back, whereas in our old place it didn't. It just vented like straight to the ceiling, and whatever you cooked in there, you'd smell it for 3 days. Plumbing was a big one. So the plumbing, when we first looked over here, did not come into the house. Like, it started and stopped right there. It didn't even come in through that wall. So we were like, well, the plumbing is there and it's capped, so we're gonna have to bring it into the house. So that was a sizable modification, I thought. But they had to bring the plumbing in, and then they had to bring plumbing. So once they brought it in, so you got it bickety bam for the sink, for the dishwasher, and then for the wash tower. And this thing's amazing. And it all drains properly, right? So one of the reasons we went with a professional company was because we had some lesser quality type folks modify our older house, and we had leaks and we had pipes that weren't even glued together, and it was a huge disaster. Let's see, cabinetry all the way across, very deep cabinets. And so they custom built all of the wall. Everything that you see was custom built. None of this was just bought at Home Pro or What's to Do or anything like that. These aren't like Kitschko cabinets. These are real wood, and all this is real metal and real glass, like custom fitted. And so let's see here. Cost estimate for, where is the kitchen? Have I broke it out separately? Storage, pantry, shoes, cost estimate. Thanks for bearing with me. I found it. 340,000 whopping Thai baht for the kitchen. So roughly 10,400 US doll hairs. And then looking at the pantry and the storage, all of the shoes and everything, was an additional 2,600 US dollars, and that was this right here. Let me spin you around. $2,600, and all of the storage was custom built. Tons of drawers. So the first like 2 or 3 of these serve as pantry, and then we've got some dishes in one of them, and then on the end, like those far 2 cabinets, those are all shoe storage. And then of course behind the stairs, no real modifications down here, just some painting, I think. But this catches all of we got some camping chairs back there, some storage Tupperware bins, and my toolbox is right over here, and water, and that's like a bag of salt for the filtration system out back. But 2,600 for there, and I think that does it for the downstairs. And so with going room by room like this, you can kind of pick and choose, what you would want to do with your house if you buy a Thai house and a move on over here. So maybe the kitchen is like your main focus, and that's where you want to put most of your funding, or maybe you want a nice bar to hang out at, and it is nice to have breakfast here, and then I can watch the news or whatever on TV. We only have one bar stool. That's all they had at Index. So they're waiting on their next shipment, and they're supposed to call. So I think we're going to have to call them today to see where the other one's at, because they were going to have to find it for us whenever they had it. The office is a big one, and there was a lot of stuff going on in here. Let me zoom you out a little. 120,000 Thai baht is what all of this cost, and that is roughly 3,600 US dollars. Let me turn on this other light for you. I had them off earlier. It was kind of blinding in here. So all of the shelving, all the lighting, cabinets, again, all this is custom cut. They did all the woodwork right here on site, and it turned out beautiful. I wanted somewhere that we could kind of display things, and sometimes the wifey thinks it's a bit much because she doesn't like all the military garb being all over the place. But again, tons of storage, and just again something to think about when you get just the generic basic Thai house over here. Storage is not like factored into anything that you're going to do in the build. I mean, unless you have one of those foreigner centric kind of, I need to do some cable management under there. It's looking a little messy, but anyway, this is not them. That's my mess there. So what they did in here was the molding around the top. Biggity bam, is that crown molding? Is that what you call that? And yep, wraps all the way around. And then they split it for the space where the AC goes, because the AC was already installed by the time they got finished up in here. But I think it turned out lovely. And we wanted it to be a nice space. It's a nice morning gym too, right? So wifey wants to get a treadmill put in here at some point. I'm kind of a just getting out on the road kind of dude, because, you know, if you pay taxes build roads, and, well, might as well use them. But it can be kind of dangerous out there too sometimes. Anyway. And so moving up to the loft, what did they do up here? We got another one of those shelves that spans the length of the room up here. The fridge was a separate purchase. They did reroute some electrics to get them up higher to where we could mount the TV and have that floating kind of appearance. We had some networking done, which brings up LAN here from downstairs, which keeps it fairly clean. Lots of storage right here, floor to ceiling. And all of these shelves were custom built. Looking at the loft cost, 86,000 Thai baht, or 2,600 US doll hairs. And I think it turned out good. The guest bedrooms, which are essentially son and daughter's rooms when they're in town visiting. So nothing in this corner that I'm standing in right now. Wall paint. All of the curtains came with the house build, so they came and did this later on through a contracted company. So really the main things that they did in here was paint the conduits to match the wall for the ACs, which was a nice touch. We didn't expect them to do that. Full paint throughout, and then all of these cabinets here. And let me flip over and see what the bedrooms were. Bedrooms 1 and 2 up here. Cost estimate was 140,000 Thai baht, or 70,000 Thai baht each. And so when son's visiting or somebody's staying with us, ton of storage in here, floor to ceiling. And you can do, again, cheaper options for these, like I mentioned in a different video. You can buy like the wardrobes from Home Pro or whatever, but they might only be like yay high. And then you've got like all that space on top, which is kind of awkward. And then you end up just stacking stuff on top of it. And it's, I don't know. The wife and I are kind of OCD about anything being outside. Countertops, you name it. We want everything kind of tucked away and clean looking. Yep. Automatic lighting that comes on when you open the doors. Let's see here. Yeah, so between both of these guest bedrooms, 4,200 US is what we're looking at. And again, nothing back in this corner that I'm in right now. Mainly all they did was the cabinets. And this one's a little bit of a different design than it was in the other room. But yeah, floor to ceiling storage, lots of drawers down there. And it kind of catches some overflow clothes that, if you ever been to Thailand, you know it's a little warm. But we lived in Japan for 6 years and Colorado before that. And our son still lives in mainland Japan. So it's a little brisk when we go over there sometimes. So we held on to a few jackets. And it looks like a Christmas sweater in there. But anyway. And again, all the curtains just kind of came with the house. The house was... The builders were finished with it, and then the contracted company came through and did all the curtains. Which leads us to, where are we going next? Electrics. Oh man, let's see here. We've got electrics, painting, ceiling, socket relocations, all kinds of cleanup. So all of the electrics and everything. 152,000 Thai baht, which sounds kind of extreme, or 4,000, another 4,600 US. But let me point something out to you real quick. When we bought this huge AC here, I don't remember if it was popping a breaker, but that's a 30,000 BTU AC. And in hindsight, I'm actually kind of thinking it was a bit much for this space, right? But this is a much bigger space than we had in the old house. And we just had one little tiny unit, like maybe a 12,000 BTU unit on the wall. But that's a 30. And that cost me, I think, just over 2,000 US. That's a Daikin. Great brand. Great AC. But sometimes I feel like it's overkill in here because I keep it on the lowest setting and... 26 degrees, and it's really, really chill in here right now. But a ton of electric work. So let me run you over here. When we first came into the house, we had this tiny little electrical panel, on par with what we had in our one-story house that was in the next move-on over. But it wasn't enough, right? So when you think about the kitchen, so if I open that up and I can't reach it, you got to get the step stool to get up in there. But it's separated up in there, everything on the second floor and then everything on the first floor, which is really clean. So like maybe this room has a breaker, and living room and exterior lights. But when you come into here and you think about the kitchen, all of this came as like one breaker. And then so we're adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're adding like 8 appliances to the kitchen, and that one little circuit breaker panel, like we would have filled up a row of breakers just just for the kitchen, right? So, and I'm not saying you need a breaker for each of these appliances, but the kitchen at the very least needed its own breaker because we were adding so much stuff in here. And that range draws a lot of power too. And when you turn this on its highest setting, it's like hurricane force winds if you're standing outside there. And you can't smell any food in here whatsoever. Which leads us to the exterior. So I'm not sure if I did a breakdown of... Yeah, so all of those interiors all together between 1.4 and 1.4 and 1.5 million Thai baht. So $45,000 roughly. Could you do that cheaper? Absolutely, absolutely. You can go to Home Pro or What to Do, and you can get cabinetry put in, and they make sets. So you can look at like a show set and be like, I would like something like this in my kitchen, and they'll come and do it. But those cabinets, we got something like that in our first house, and I can't remember if it came with the house or if that was an add-on. But they're very much plasticky cabinets, and some of them are starting to show some wear, like where the fasteners are kind of showing through the plastic. I don't know, it's weird, but yeah, that is the interior of the house. And was it expensive? Yes, of course, that's expensive, but we aren't dealing with construction that's going to fall apart in a year, 2 years. Let me find some wood to knock on. There we go. But our old house was just, it was kind of a wreck sometimes. Plumbing was a nightmare, especially when you're running plumbing with a company that's maybe more accustomed to doing outside, like outdoor Thai kitchens. And we may add one of those later on. Sorry, my OCD got me. I've got a garbage bag blowing around outside and I have no idea where that came from, but I gotta go clean that up. But anyway, I don't want to say you get what you pay for, because I was watching one of Lucas's videos over on Rides for Kicks, and he was like, no, not necessarily. It doesn't always work out like that. It's not a hard and fast rule. But we didn't pay all that much for all the work that we got done at the old house, but we could tell that it definitely wasn't run by a professional, what do you call them, a foreman or you know, some kind of managerial oversight to come by and do daily inspections and whatnot. Whereas over here we had that. So when they did the cleanup, man, they were over here. I thought they were going to come by and do a touch-up job for like 20-30 minutes. They were over here all day with a fine-tooth comb, you know, getting in all the nooks and crannies and making sure they didn't miss anything. And everything turned out lovely. This has got a lot of storage underneath. And we haven't picked up the house. I didn't want to go washing dishes just to make a video. I figure you should show it kind of semi-rough and lived in, you know what I mean? But all right, should we do an outside tour? All right, for the exterior of the house, some of the main things that we had done was the concrete stamp, which you'll see it runs all the way around the house. We wanted to keep half of it like grass so I could grow stuff, and then the more we thought about it, the more we were just like, nah, you know what? It's an additional chore, and let's just get rid of all the grass. The concrete stamp came in at 244,000 Thai baht, or 7,400 US dollars. I got an awning or an overhang out here for the car park, and that was an additional 80,000 Thai baht, or 2,400 US dollars. And then the wifey wanted to get the garden done, so we went out to some gardens a while back, and I made a video when we were out there. Let me spin you again real quick. Basically what we wanted to do was kind of have the lady come out and size up what we were looking at and what Tick wanted to do. And she was like, well, we lived a long time in Japan, and I kind of want to feel that when I'm out here lounging. And so that's what she did, was this Japanese themed garden, Sawan Nipun, if you will, out back. And it turned out lovely. Some of those trees were a little pricey, but you'd be surprised how expensive all that rock is. I think that was probably the majority of the cost. But the gardens came out to 40,000 Thai baht, or 1,200 US doll hairs. All right, we'll pop outside real quick. And if you've been following the channel, you've already seen most of this. So this is the Mubon back behind us. They're doing some construction back there. And you can see how that's a prefab concrete wall they have suspended right there. They just got that hung. But that's how these houses are built too. They're all precast concrete. And speaking of concrete, this is our concrete stamp. Much better gate than we had at the old house. I like this one. The other one was like super tall and super heavy. This one's heavy enough. But the concrete stamp runs all the way around the house, and these are the gardens that we got done. So, I don't know. So, I mean, in America, could you, for $1,000, could you get all of this done? These trees were already here. But we did get this grass down here put in, and all of this rock, which runs all the way back. And then we got those plants over there in the front and all the rock that they're sitting in. But I mean, could all this be done for $1,000 stateside? I don't know, maybe. We always did it ourselves when we had little gardens back in the States. But $1,000 for all the garden stuff. Again, the concrete stamp, they're still going to come back They came and did one touch up. They're going to come back and do one more touch up because it's starting to show in some spaces out here. So I think they'll come back and do some more coloring and maybe another seal. They might be going to put another seal on it too, but it's got some little spaces in it where it's, yeah, I don't know. It's like it's cracking already. So I think they're going to come fill all these little pock marks in and then reseal it. This is our scratch and dent table that we got for like half off at Home Pro. I think like $400 or $500 for that set. Anyway, these are some of my own plants right here. Anyway, that's got nothing to do with the cost. Do. So these pigeons had a field day back here. I got to come do some sweeping. This little awning over so we paid about, I think, $800 US for this filter system, and this is basically like a regenerative salt, I think is what they call it, that goes in here, and yeah, so it filters our water before it goes into the house because you don't want all that well water jamming up all the appliances. The tank was already here pre-existing, and so was the pump. So we added the filter system, and then we had a dude come out from on the base where my mom-in-law has her shop at and put this little awning over it, which I think turned out good at the end of the day. And we paid $90 for that, for him to build it himself. And this is sheet metal. It's like insulated up top. But yeah, more of the gardens. Do. And so over here, this is that wall in the living room where we would have had two long windows, one on this end and one on that end. And you can't tell they were ever there. Whereas some people will do stuff like that and you'll be able to tell, like, was there a window here or a door here? It looks kind of shoddy. And then this guy up here, the awning, this is great. So took one at a way to shade and cover the vehicle, or vehicles if we ever get another. Because at our old house it was really shallow, and when we parked all the way back against the steps, one, it was awkward because you had to get around the car to get up the steps to get in the house, but it also wasn't deep enough so that the front of the car wasn't exposed to the elements. And over here, we got this guy up here, and it's semi-transparent, and I think we're about to get a little rain, but this thing is amazing. This is one of my favorite parts of the house, is this awning. And of course, this is also like my morning workout space. Oh, we got a noodles guy coming through the neighborhood here. I might have to stop and grab a bowl. Every day this guy rolls through right about the same time. And he used to come through our old neighborhood too, after spending an hour or two in this neighborhood. But super convenient if you're at the house and you hear the bok coming down the street. 2 bowls of this. Wifey got one for later because she didn't get her coffee just yet. Nor did I. I need a coffee. But 100 baht. So roughly $3 for 2 bowls of these boat noodles. Man. Sorry, I got sidetracked and I was having some delicious ass noodles. But one thing that I forgot to do was the master bedroom, and I guess we'll swoop through there here in a bit, but the cost on the master bedroom was an additional, it was almost on par with the kitchen because we got some heavy modification done up there, but 308,000 Thai baht, or roughly 9,400 USD. So really, if you think about, if you had a house like roughly this size and you wanted to do your master bedroom kind of like we have, plus a kitchen kind of like we have, like 20,000 might not be like a bad guesstimate, but so 9,500 roughly for the master bedroom. But closets, lighting, and that's floor to ceiling closets, a huge mirror, all kinds of storage. They installed, or they from scratch built a desk with drawers. They gave us an accent wall, like a kind of like the facade thing that we have going on down here. But it's got some backlighting on it for like a kind of like a night light, and all kinds of good stuff. But I'll pop up there in just a minute, assuming wifey is not in the bathroom or back in the rack. So yeah, but that was the one piece that I left out. And so I think that's gonna do it. And so just kind of a rough summary here. The exterior for everything that we did out there, 364,000 Thai baht or 11,000 USD. And everything that we did on the inside, ballpark again, so within a few $1,000s, 1.4 million baht, or I'm going to guesstimate that's roughly 45,000 USD. So yeah, again, all of these things you could do cheaper. The quality will vary. The finishes may vary. The durability of said things that you get done may vary. You may have a flooded kitchen. You might have electrics that don't work. You might have a fire. So just kind of be careful about who you go with. And I think it's best to just go with a company that's going to give you a good guarantee. And so if something goes wrong in like that first full year, you can touch base with them and say, hey man, this is or gal, this is kind of starting to come apart, or the seal out here isn't looking good on the concrete, and they'll go through the people that they contracted and they'll get it fixed. And so they're not like a full in-house business where they have all the specialists. It's I'm talking about, our team was a dude and his wife, and they were the managers. They own the company, and then they contract out or manage all of these different teams that do all the different things: plumbing, welding, concrete. It's not just like 2 or 3 guys bouncing around doing every single job. So when we got the modifications done to our old house, it was a team of 3 or 4 people, and they were welding, they were doing woodwork, they were doing concrete work, they were doing the plumbing. And not all of it was bad, but the plumbing was bad. And the woodwork there are some cracks in it, like out on the deck, but I mean, I guess that's to be expected. The rest of it was pretty good, I think. Could have been a little cleaner maybe on the paint, but some of the tiles have cracked right along the front end of the driveway over there, which is very minor. I think they probably all need like a polishing or something, or resealing at the very least. But that plumbing, just a disaster, and I don't want to talk about it. Maybe I will. So in the kitchen over there, the piping coming out of the sink was just kind of going into the wall, like little pipe into the big pipe. No, it wasn't heat shrunk around it, and I think that's a common practice here in Thailand. Is a little just melt that bad boy, and it'll affix itself to the smaller pipe, or what have you. There was no gluing or anything. It was just big pipe going into little pipe. And so for the longest, when we weren't here, we were still living in Japan, our cleaning lady would be coming over, and she'd use that sink obviously to put water in a bucket or something to that effect. The water had just been draining out under the sink into that cabinet area, and so that moisture had nowhere to go. So it went into the wood, into the best, or like the brand new wooden cabinets that we bought to go down there, the cabinet doors to go on the front of that under sink area, and it swole those doors up. And so when we finally came back over, it had been months and months, I think, before we had been gone. We come back over, and I can't get one of the doors open. It's swollen shut, and I'm just like, God. And wifey's like, what? And I was like, I know why this is swollen shut. It got wet. There's probably a leak behind this. Once I finally get it open, I had to like pry the door open, and when I got it open, you could just smell it and feel it, all that heat and humidity and mold hitting you in the face. And I had to get down there and field day it, clean it all up, and Lysol it all out, bleach it all out. It was heinous. And then I had to fix the pipe. So some glue, probably some caulk in there somewhere, Actually, it was a lot of caulk. And fixed it myself, and it never leaked afterwards. It hasn't leaked since. But when we told the team that and they came to look at it and they came to fix it, they didn't fix it. They did up again. But there was no consideration or no mention of like, oh, well, I guess we owe you these cabinets, or I guess we should get you some replacements for these drawers and the cabinets that are all warped now. And there was no mention of any of that. That wasn't even a consideration. It was just me sitting there with a sour face looking at him like, what? You can't just put pipe in pipe and expect it all to be good. So, yeah. And then they left without it being fixed. I had to fix it again because it ended up leaking again when they fixed it the second time. So you do get what you pay for, but you have to balance that with, like, you know, that's not always a hard and fast truth, if you will. So I'm going to quit rambling, and at some point I'll swoop through the master bedroom just to kind of show you one more glimpse of all the cabinets in there, and the lighting and the wall. And but that's really going to do it. I hope you enjoyed. Hope you got something out of it, and hope this is what you were looking for. My subscriber Kontai, she reached out and asked me to do this, and I said a while back I'd definitely do it, and so I owed this to you. So this is me just doing my homework. Yeah. Hope you got something out of it. She lives stateside with her family, and they're going to be retiring and moving over to Thailand here in the next couple of years. So looking forward to continuing to talk with members and conversate and whatnot. And they've talked about where they're looking at buying a place and everything, and I hope it all goes well. But shout back if you need anything, and I reckon we'll see you on the next one. Bye for now. All right, let's see if we can do a swoop through the old master. Ooh, baby's got it looking nice in here, looking nice and cozy. Check it out. We got this kind of accent wall put in. That's one of the main things that they did. And then this underlighting here, which is really cool. Spans that entire side of the room. Nothing happening over here. And then bam. So the main feature up here that they wanted to get after was, or that wife wanted to get after, was all the closet space. But they also built this really cool desk. It's got a TV on it. We don't even watch this TV, so might sell that, put it in one of the other bedrooms, or sometimes it's a good night light after you turn out all the lights, because the switches are a little far from the bed. But lots of storage again, nice little countertop. And I was like, maybe I'll use this as a workspace or something. And maybe that's something in the future, further down the line, if we ever need to use the office for something else. But yeah, these closets are floor to ceiling and run all the way to the end of the room. And they're down here. So that used to be a window right there too. So no longer a window, now it's this big mirror that you push it and it pops out, and that's storage behind there. There's storage under her little countertop. There's storage all along the sides of her little countertop. And this end right here is all I get. That's all empty up there. So I'm pretty slim when it comes to keeping a collection, you know what I'm saying? But they added all this too. So this comes out, wraps around. Everything's very clean. I wasn't too keen on having the rounded edges at first, but I kind of like it. And so these are like longer hanging spaces, like dresses and stuff. I definitely have nothing in there. I don't have any of my dresses in there. So yeah, that's all my shirts. I have a few pair of jeans and some shorts down there, and then the rest of this, plus whatever's in the guest bedrooms is all wifey's. But I like to give wifey a hard time about having all this stuff. But a lot of it's stuff we might need if we travel somewhere colder, like, you know, not Okinawa, but travel up to mainland Japan. The bathrooms, don't really need to do a walkthrough of the bathrooms. We didn't do anything to the bathrooms to modify them. They are nice and big. We got water heaters in each of them, and then we got rain showers added. But that was like totally separate from the house build, and that's stuff we did on our kind of on our own accord. So yeah. All right. And with that, I think it's going to wrap up. We'll see y'all next time, for real this time. And y'all take her easy. Cheers.